They had just been captured as slaves, yet the natives suddenly pointed forward to let them go. The slaves looked confused, thinking the natives were joking. It was only when they started scolding them that the two dared to slowly take a step forward. But when they turned back, they were terrified to find that the other party had suddenly picked up the bow and arrow from the ground, clearly intending to kill. They could only quickly accelerate and rush forward. At this moment, one native finally couldn't hold back and made the first move. However, this arrow did not hit, and seeing this, the other companions also threw their weapons, but without exception, all missed. At this moment, a native with a slingshot energetically threw a hit, and the stone drew a long arc before securely striking one of the slaves. However, this hit did not take his life. Another slave saw this and hurriedly accelerated, running forward, but was still struck by the enemy's spear. Seeing that neither of them held any resentment, the indigenous person responsible for cleanup at the end rushed over immediately and delivered the final blow. At this moment, it was finally the man's turn, and although he had just seen his companion die tragically before his eyes, there wasn't a trace of fear in them. Upon the indigenous people's command, the two dashed out like arrows leaving the string. However, unlike the previous slaves, they did not run in a straight line but chose to zigzag. In doing so, the indigenous people had to predict where they would land in order to hit them. As the two had predicted, despite trying their hardest, the others were ultimately unable to succeed. However, they never stopped their attacks, with javelins and stones raining down like droplets, yet not injuring the two at all. One of the indigenous people realized this approach wasn't working, so he tried to aim more carefully for a weakness, and unexpectedly, he succeeded. The man's companion was thus tragically killed by his arrow. On the other side, the indigenous leader saw that the subordinates method was effective and started to emulate it. This arrow, without deviation, hit the man but didn't strike a vital spot, so the indigenous person at the finish line quickly ran up to finish him off.
Mm-hmm.